Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Messages. This is Reverend Sydney Finn, as always, and today we are going to talk about one of the most highly requested topics, which is manifestation. And today I'm going to be doing more of like a case study style podcast. So I hope you enjoy this because it is a little bit different, but I figured that it would be a great way to kind of weave in all of the elements of manifestation. So we're going to be focusing on one particular case for all of this. And I wanted to make sure that I took a moment to celebrate the launch of my manifestation class called It's Already Yours. And quite honestly, it's probably one of the things that I am most proud of just because it is so unique. And it is designed to help you work out the bugs and troubleshoot manifestations primarily. So the entire class is designed to help you figure out and forge your manifestation style rather than trying to squeeze yourself into someone else's box if that doesn't resonate with you, because not all manifestation strategies are right for everybody. And so I just wanted to put that in here. Of course, I am going to shamelessly plug myself because this is my passion and my life's work. So just know that that is now available. And you're welcome to check it out. The info will be in the description box if you're listening on YouTube, or it'll be in the show notes. Or you can go to onyxhealing.com and click the classes button on the front page. So you're welcome to check that out. The first module is free. I have some videos. I have some intention setting stuff. I have just a quick meditation for you to do in that first module. So even if you just want to go take a look at the preparation module that I made available, you are more than welcome to check that out. Just fair warning, this is probably going to be a longer podcast. I'm just fully anticipating that because this is a large topic to unpack. It's not something I'm going to be able to go into every detail about, but I'm hoping that this really helps each and every one of you who's listening. So let's just start off with what is manifestation to begin with. And for the purposes of this episode, my definition for manifestation is essentially intentionally and actively creating your desire in the 3D world, or in your day-to-day experiences. You are actively creating that thing. So intentional creation is the name of the game when it comes to manifestation, which is why it's such a popular thing, because why would you do anything but intentionally create? Now, I like to mention that manifestation does not mean that your life becomes nothing but good things. Right? The challenges are still going to present themselves. You're still having a human experience. You're still going to experience the shadow side of humanity, right? That's something that just exists, period. So you will have a continuing full spectrum, full range of emotions. That is not going to go away. However, if you had to choose between being able to call in solutions, call in resolution, actively create your way into an experience that you want to have, opposed to just being a total victim of circumstance at every step of the way, what would you rather have? And I understand there's a lot of stuff going on culturally right now where people are very focused on being the victim and weighing like how much of a victim are you, and let's count your victim points and poor you for being a victim. This is very damaging just in terms of manifestation. So we're all clear on what tone we want to bring into active creation. The tone needs to be at an empowerment level, period. As soon as you start slipping into poor me, my life sucks, everyone outside of me has it easier than me, you're going to be in trouble. So the best thing that you can do is remind yourself that whatever it is you like to work with, God, universe, divine source, that will ultimately be able to override any circumstances that might be sitting in front of you. No matter how unfair your life has been, no matter what you have been dealt, manifestation and intentional creation does not discriminate. It just doesn't. Because we're talking about energetics, and energetics are essentially blind, right? It doesn't matter what your history is or what society says. None of these things matter. They cease to exist once you start playing in the energetic realm. Now, of course, I'll be the first to say, like, I can bounce back into human practicality mode just as quickly. But when we're talking about manifestation, we have to set those things aside. We can't zoom in on all of the human dysfunction that we face. We can't focus in on that because you have to break the cycle and get off of the negative feedback loop of things are so hard for me. So that would be the first thing that I would recommend to all of you, is to simply audit your thoughts. When it comes to manifestation, are you thinking, this is hard, there are no jobs, money is hard for me, nobody wants me, nobody is going to love me, I don't have any friends, there's no way I'm going to be able to get this job or get this home or call in this partner or whatever the case may be? If you are starting there, then that would probably be the first thing that I would address. So address, what are the thoughts about, I can't do it, I can't have it, no, that's ridiculous, no, that's unlikely. I mean, that's where I would lead. And then the next thing that you want to do is simply present, what if you're wrong? What if all of those things that you have going on in your mind aren't accurate? What if money actually is easy? It's just that you haven't been practicing getting your energy in alignment with receiving and keeping money. What if accessing partnership is something that can be easier? It's just that maybe you haven't tapped into the right healing yet, or maybe there's a few more steps before you call in that partner of a lifetime. What if that job is actually easy to find? What if it is something that you have the capacity to get quickly and get moving on? And the only thing that is blocking out all these manifestations is the fact that you keep saying how hard it is and how horrible it is and how it's never going to happen for you. What if those stories are incorrect? So you don't have to dive into a 180, as I say all the time. 180s typically don't work, because if you go from, I don't believe any of this shit, there's no way things are going to get better for me, to life is sunshine and rainbows, your body is probably going to reject that proposal. So I like to simply start with, maybe your assumptions and stories are wrong. So the reason why that's powerful is because you don't have to flip into a 180 life is sunshine and rainbows, right? That's probably going to take a while to get to, especially if you're in a dark situation or circumstance. But maybe just the narrative that you're running mentally is not accurate. That's the only thing that you want to present first, so that actual potential possibilities can actually shine through. You just have to create a doorway. That's all you want to do, at least at first, with manifestation. So I'll leave you with that for now. But let me get into the case study that I really want to unpack, because if there is one family I know that does manifestation unlike anyone on earth I've ever seen manifest, it's the Kardashians. Now, before you start whining and complaining and bitching and moaning and talking about how much you can't stand the Kardashians, I would suggest that you listen, because if you would like to experience more of anything, then you need to study people who have a lot. That's a good idea. People who experience a lot of abundance in large quantities. It's going to be wise for you to just look at, what's going on there? And that's what I figured we would dive into, because the Kardashians pretty much embody a lot of the principles of manifestation that I think are important to point out. So this is not about whether or not you like them or think they're good or bad. That doesn't matter. The point is, they've built multiple empires within one family. Like, it's a whole thing. It's like everyone who comes in contact with them becomes famous. And it's this abundance contagion that they seem to have. And it's quite remarkable. So much so that I'm dedicating this podcast to them, because it's going to be great for us to look at. So you're going to have to set your biases aside if you really can't stand them. I know a lot of you are already on the same page as me as far as either having interest in the Kardashians or whatever, but I just had to use them for this example because they are perfect for this. Let me bust the first myth about Kim Kardashian, because one of the things that really confuses people is that people think Kim Kardashian has done nothing. She just made a sex tape and became famous, and that's the end of it. That's what people think she did. But that could not be farther from the truth. Now, don't get me wrong, the sex tape was a stellar PR stunt. No joke. Like, that was absolute gold, and that definitely played a big role. You know, just from a PR management standpoint, can't really be mad at it if you're looking for fame, but that was not what made her manifest fame or wealth or any of the other things that she has going on. She had a very specific manifestation process, at least that's what I'm calling it, okay, that she has followed to a T throughout, you know, the last couple decades or however long, whenever she got started. The one thing that people will tell you, and pretty much everyone who focuses on manifestation with few exceptions, they're going to tell you that the important part of manifestation has to do with becoming an energetic match for the thing that you desire. And that is a full body, it's a cellular shift that you have to make happen. And the way that people shift the energy of their cells is going to be different for everybody, right? But the nice thing about Kim Kardashian is that she shows how she did it. So that's what, when people are talking about become an energetic match, it's really about like manually getting the energy in your body to shift. So the reason why I like using Kim Kardashian as an example is because a lot of the things that she did were super practical. So we don't even have to go into vision board territory when we're talking about Kim Kardashian. That's what's nice about it. So you can imagine Kim Kardashian has something focused in her mind. She makes an agreement and is like, I want to experience wealth and fame, right? Fame is the whole thing that I want to do in this lifetime, okay? So you can think about that as her manifestation goal. Fame, 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 money, money, money. And she had a couple advantages as far as her geographical location. You know, her family name has something to do with it in terms of the access that she had, but do not get it twisted. It doesn't mean that she didn't do grunt work, because for those of you who know her story, it was about getting into the environment of the energy that she wanted to be surrounded by, which is part of the energetic shift. So one of the first steps with her was getting involved with fashion and then becoming a stylist for Paris Hilton. Now, some of you might be saying, oh, that's a huge leap. But in reality, it's one of those things that I don't think is that far-fetched. It's just that most people aren't willing to go to the lengths that she did to get that type of job. So people have it in their mind that like the name is what gave her the advantage and gave her that position, but I'm saying not necessarily, right? So you want to separate those two things just for the sake of manifestation purposes. So she gets in the mix. She's literally in the energy, the environment of what she desires. So that's one way that she would shift her energy. Also, being extraordinarily conscientious of the type of people that she's surrounding herself with, right? She's not hanging out with people who don't have money. She's not trying to get in environments where people aren't famous. It's constantly inserting yourself in that environment over and over and over again, shifting your energy over and over again, flying super close to the sun, getting near it over and over and over again. So she becomes Paris Hilton's stylist. And it's one of those things that you can even think about it right now. Do you really know the name of any celebrity stylists right now? For those of you who are not super into pop culture, more than likely not. I can't name any celebrity stylists. I can only name fashion designers. So again, like, the stylist gig is still kind of grunt work. We can put it in that category. It's not like you're living a life of lavish glitz and glamour as the person who dresses Paris Hilton. That's just not the most glamorous position. But again, Kim Kardashian is focused on proximity, not needing everything right away immediately. So it was simply about being close to the world, being in those relationships as much as she could be. Now, the other thing that she would do is she would figure out where paparazzi would go in LA, okay? And this is a level of hustle that I have so much respect for. It's out of control. Like, how much I respect this from a business perspective. So Kim Kardashian would get ready. She would put on her best clothes. She would do her makeup. She would dress to the nines. Get ready. Again, this is building the energetic shift inside your cells to become in alignment with what she desires. And because she had a plan for this is where all of the paparazzi are going to be, I am going to go and insert myself into all of these places where this paparazzi is. And because of that, even though she's just getting photos that aren't directly of her, simply being in that environment, again, taking the time, building the energy, and really putting a lot of belief and action and power behind the action that she was taking and the steps that she was taking, it started to grow and grow and grow. That started compounding over time, where then she became a little bit more familiar with people. There were more relationships that were built. And after, chasing paparazzi and desperately getting into photos and like forcing herself into those environments, with enough time, energy, practice, and doing it again and again and again, relentlessly, that is where the sex tape really emerged, was because she had made so many connections by that point that then she was in a position where it was even possible to have a sex tape with a celebrity. And then everything popped for her. And that's, I believe, when E came to her with the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, show idea, or I'm not sure how much Kris Jenner was involved with actually making that happen, because I can tell you right now, Kris Jenner is a PR beast, unlike anything I have ever seen. So whatever your thoughts are, it's worth studying, no matter what it is that you want, because this is just insane what they've been able to do. So the main point in why I wanted to use the Kardashians for this is just because of how they really conjure up a lot of energy and actively become an energetic match for the very thing that they're building. Like, watching Kim Kardashian in particular evolve over time has been a total trip. So for those of you who are working on manifesting things, remember that what you're doing for whatever it is that you want or whatever you're trying to make happen is not any different from the moments when Kim would put on her clothes and get her makeup ready and dress to the nines and go to these fancy places and, be in the energy of that thing. That is the exact thing that you want to do in manifestation by any means necessary. So whatever it is that helps you conjure up the feeling, the emotion, the experience of the thing that you're calling into your space and what it is that you want to have, that's how you do it. And what you notice is that, particularly with the Kardashians, they've just grown and grown and grown and grown, and all of these things, multiple shows, multiple companies, multiple empires, multiple scandals, just more and more and more. It compounds over time, and the reason being is that once you're able to really get into the groove of it, it becomes easy. It becomes second nature. So while a lot of people may resent what they've done and what they've been able to create, it's important to point out here that one of the reasons why it's compounded so quickly for so many people in that family is just because of how practiced they are at it. So now, making things happen and having successful companies, they've already been in the energy of it for so long, and they've built so much over so much time, and they're so practiced that it's not going to be the same experience as if it's your first time and you have low belief and you have, rocky manifestation techniques. So remember this for yourself as well. It's when you're in the practice, when you get into the groove of it, when you really find the things that help you in actively creating, the faster you become at it. That's just the name of the game. So the entire time leading up to, we can say, the pop of the Kardashian family, and when that whole thing started snowballing, really consider that for a moment. That this was years in the making, years of shifting energy, becoming more involved, getting more in the space, getting more in the energy of the desire, incrementally, over and over and over and over and over. This was not overnight. Most people only remember the pop, but they didn't see all of the energetic shifting that was happening before then, which is what I want to point out to you. While, of course, she was working on a massive manifestation, even if that's not what she called it, but the amount of conviction and energy that she had to put behind that massive manifestation was a ton. So you can imagine that she was probably talking about it and thinking about it and focusing on it and getting her energy behind it and taking actions that are in alignment with what would a famous person do? What would someone who wants to be in the tabloids do in this moment? And even before she was actually in the role of a celebrity, she was pushing herself to be in the role of a celebrity until it manifested. And boy, did she succeed. Farther than I think she even realized. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's always known that it was going to be a multiple empire family. Maybe that was the case, but regardless, you need to understand that it's not about luck here. It's not about name recognition. It's not about that. This was very clearly an intentional building that was taking place for years and years and years until it was something that became known to, everyday people or the public or whatever. So what this means for you is you have to become the very thing that you desire, even if you're doing that before you're ready. Just like Kim Kardashian did. She was inserting herself into celebrity circles and celebrity environments and, high-end environments before she was ready, before it made sense, or before it was quote-unquote appropriate. And it's like that old saying, dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. there's a lot of truth to that, in the sense that you do want to push yourself to level up before you're ready. And when you're thinking about, okay, there's this thing that I desire, there's this thing that I want to make happen, you have to ask yourself, who is the person who receives those things, and how am I able to embody more of that in order to become an energetic match for the desire? I know that sounds kind of esoteric. That might sound ridiculous to some of you who are listening, but that's essentially what has to happen. Because until you become the thing, it's going to not be able to find you. So it's like money isn't going to find poor people the way that it's going to find people who are already comfortable with receiving and keeping money. Those are two different frequencies, right? If the narrative mentally is money is always running out, there's never enough, as soon as money comes in, it always goes out. If that is the mantra, if that is the energetic frequency of your mind, body, spirit, if those are the types of actions that you take are from that space, then how are you an energetic match for abundance or wealth? Now, I'm not saying you need to go drop a whole bunch of money on something frivolous, because that's what a wealthy person would do. But it's about really paying attention to how you're being in the world, and if you're being in a way that adds up to what you're saying you want. That's the main thing that you have to do some auditing on. For example, one of the big issues that I see with people, and this is the entire reason why I created the manifestation class, was to help people work out the bugs with all of this stuff and really find what it is that helps you shift your energy. And it's hours and hours of content on how you do that. But the main thing that I would see time and time again is people coming into my practice saying, Sydney, I want more money. But everything that they're thinking, saying, and doing are adding up to someone who doesn't want money. Or someone coming into my practice and saying, why can't I manifest this partner? Yet everything that they're doing is not adding up to them receiving a partner or having that partner come into their space. And so it's really a matter of, are you actually embodying the thing that you desire? And are you making that a practice? And are you being consistent with it? And of course, even me, it's like there are times when no matter how good I get at manifesting, no matter how confident I get in whatever it is that I've been able to call in, which has been a lot of wild stuff, for sure. I've had debt disappear. I've had living situations that were so good it's unheard of. Financial windfalls and gifts out of nowhere. I mean, I've been able to manifest a lot of really, really great things. And even I fall out of alignment sometimes. Even I have bad days. Even I do things that are not always super consistent with that person that I'm trying to evolve into. So we don't want to beat ourselves up for being human beings. But again, it's a practice. So this is where people get stuck in I'm thinking about all these things that I want, but why aren't they coming? And really, it's an issue of being. It's an issue of embodying. It's an issue of contradictions in the way that you're talking about, I want this thing, but then every action that you're taking is contradicting it. And a lot of that stuff is where people experience the most resistance. So I would encourage you to just look at what is out of alignment regarding how you're being in the world and what you're asking for. So back to the Kardashians, so you can apply this to yourself. When Kim had her first photo in a tabloid, like maybe it was just an itty bitty photo, or maybe she was just happening to be in the photo but wasn't the focal point of the photo. Did she give up after fame didn't happen? Nope. She kept going. It wasn't that oh, I've failed and now I give up and now I have to throw in the towel. It's continuing to show up in that way with the expectation of everything that I'm doing is lining up to me receiving the very thing that I want. I'm getting everything behind that, and I am not going to stop until I call this thing in. And I am absolutely trusting that everything that I need is going to come my way. That's kind of the name of the game with manifestation, but a lot of people either give up too early, they give up prematurely, they slide back into old ways of being, they do any number of things that essentially, they stop watering the plant. They stop growing the manifestation and instead just focus on, well, I can't do it. And that's not the case. It's just that people often don't massage their skills, they don't flex their skills, and they don't allow it to be a skill that is built. Instead, they just focus on, well, I tried it once and it doesn't work, so that's the end of it. I guess it's not for me. So you have to be careful with that, because if you're running into issues with manifestation, or if you're trying to call in things and they haven't happened yet or whatever, or you haven't been super successful in whatever it is that you're trying to call in, just remember that that's okay. Because while I'm much better at manifesting today than I was 8 years ago, it doesn't mean that I haven't had trials and errors, that I haven't manifested something cool and then manifested something inconvenient. It doesn't mean that I haven't had manifestations go really well and manifestations not go so well. And I've had all this whole spectrum of experience when it comes to it, but it's like you can't just tap out when it comes to manifestation. And I would say that impatience is kryptonite for manifestation, not just with the thing materializing. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about impatience with yourself. Impatience with your skills, impatience with understanding how to shift your energy and what that looks like for you and how that's going to work for you. Again, this is why I created the course, so that you can get a feel for how to troubleshoot and find your style. Anyway, I'll stop talking about it, but you get the idea that like this is a lifelong practice. It's something that you finesse. It's something that you tweak. It's something that you make adjustments to. It's not something that stops. So when it comes to manifestation, because there is no goal, there is no pinnacle, there is no, this is going to be the thing that I get and then I'll stop manifesting. No. Manifestation is going to be something that if you make it a practice, you will likely just continue living your life in that way. And at least that's been my experience. I started manifesting, started getting better at it over years, over time. I've been able to build a bunch of stuff, and now I don't do anything but manifest. When I want something, it's intentional creation of what I'm calling in, and that's the end of it. That is how I get things into my space. That's how I live my life. It's like I don't just look for another place to live, I manifest the right living situation. That it's going to bleed into everything once you really find your jam, once you find your groove and what it really feels like, and really getting a feel for what does manifestation actually feel like. And once you get a taste of it, you're not going to want to stop because it's awesome. So that's where it's like this coveted thing that everybody wants to do. But I just want you to go in and understand that this is a skill that you will have to fine tune. You're not going to get it if you've never done it before and you're going in and expecting it to be perfect right away. No, you're going to discover funky patterns. You're going to discover that things are still living in your body that you didn't know were there and are getting reflected in your environment, and you get to troubleshoot that. And then you get really good at receiving the things and keeping the things that you call in, and then you're able to do that more and more and more. Your manifestations become more potent. I mean, it's a great practice to have. I just feel like everybody should have a manifestation practice because it's going to make your life a lot easier. And then when, there are inconveniences that happen, or there is something that, is not ideal, then you're actually able to tap into manifesting solutions faster because you already know how to call things into your space. And so beyond just the material, it also becomes a practice of manually transforming what you're feeling so that situations can resolve faster. Now, that's not always a guarantee. This world is complicated, yada, yada, yada. But it's an important skill. And so when you start looking at it as a skill that you need to learn how to do and learn how to wield in a way that feels good to you, the better off you're going to be, the more successful you're going to be, and it's going to be a game changer for you, if you look at it as a skill that you're developing. That's all. No matter what you decide to do or whoever's formula you decide to try out, or if you're just sticking to journaling and mantras, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't really matter. It's about finding your groove and flexing your muscles and being able to build that. Because in reality, there's going to be 50,000 teachers with 50,000 different styles who are doing every different thing. And what I'm telling you is it doesn't matter. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach to manifestation. It's something that you have to develop and audit for yourself. And your style, those of you who are listening, is likely going to be very different from my style. That's just the way this works. And so if you can go into it from a standpoint of, I'm going to figure out this manifestation thing no matter what I have to do in order to access it, when you really start committing to, I'm going to get this whole creative power thing going, then it's really going to shift things for you. So before we get into Q&A, remember, it's becoming the person who is an energetic match for the desire. Shifting your energy, becoming an energetic match, which of course takes time to develop, and asking yourself the question constantly, what would it feel like if I already had that thing? That's the question that you want to ask. How would I feel? What would I be doing? What would I be thinking? What would I be saying? What would my life be like and feel like? And how would I be in the world if I already had that thing that I desired? And really playing in that space. That's where all of the juiciness lives. That's where all the good stuff lives, is the feeling of it already exists. It's already happening. I'm already in that state. And that is how you shift your cells manually. And this is something that is talked about all of the time. This is the core principle of manifestation. That's why I'm trying to drill it so hard. Stop focusing on the medium. People really want to focus on the medium. They want like a magic spell or a special candle, although I really like candles. But it's not one thing. It's going to be different for all of you. You're all going to have your unique style and flavor of manifestation. Fact. It's not going to be the same for everybody. And so the energetic match piece is the principle that you want to keep in mind. All of these stuff to shift your energy, which is the medium, that actually matters less. The only thing that matters is, does it work for you? And that's it. So that is my main focus for all of this. That is what I will leave you with. But I'm going to move into Q&As now, and I'm sure that's going to open up some nice cans of worms to play with when it comes to manifestation. And let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, here's the first question. Do you need to believe? Well, it depends on how specific you're getting. So sometimes manifestations can just look like show me evidence, show me proof, show me, show me, show me. Sometimes manifestations can look like that, in which case your belief would basically, it could theoretically be at 0 and you could still get results. Because the idea is just you're asking for evidence and proof. So that's a little bit different, but that's still a form of manifestation. So the belief, of course, when you get into really high level stuff or really big things, your belief is going to need to grow and grow and grow the bigger the manifestation is. Typically speaking, like your level of conviction is probably pretty high around your ability to manifest $5, right? You've probably held a $5 bill. You've seen a $5 bill. That's something that's very easy to conceptualize and understand the feeling of. And so your belief around being able to manifest that is quite easy. But if I said $5 million, then it's kind of like, what does that even mean? Unless you've made $5 million, you've had $5 million, you know what it's like to be in the energy of $5 million. So the belief is something that, depending on how your mindset is and where you're starting from, is going to put you in a very different position in terms of what you want to ask for first or what you're manifesting first. And so yes, belief is a part of the equation, but I don't think it's as black and white as people think, because people say, you have to believe, or you have to put all your belief and energy behind it. Yes, when you're asking for things that are super specific and you're working really hard to put all your energy behind it, but not every manifestation looks that way. Quite honestly, sometimes manifestations are much milder and don't really require as much belief. So it all depends. Okay, how to do it correctly. I think I've already described that for the most part. Become an energetic match. Be the type of person who receives the thing that you desire. And the more you step into that role, the more you are going to receive the things that person would receive. So that's the gist of it. Do you think it's the same as the law of attraction? I am actually probably not a good person to ask about that, because I feel like there's just been a lot of people poisoning the well, essentially, with that, where it's if you think about it or if you just visualize it, then you'll receive it, which is a misnomer. It's not about visualization, it's about embodiment. And I've talked about this before, but it's like, I don't know exactly what the definition of the law of attraction is in the context that you're asking. So it's hard for me to say yes, because I know that when certain people talk about the law of attraction, they're saying one thing, but if somebody else asks about it, they mean a completely different thing. So it's hard to say without going in detail about what you mean by that. Do you have a daily manifestation practice that you love? If I'm being completely honest, my personal manifestation style is quite fluid. I generally don't like vision boards that much. I am much more of a journaling, mantra, meditation type of gal. That's more my thing. I like the cognitive cerebral work. That's where I do my best work. And so it all depends. Meditation is most important to me. That's what does it the fastest and best for me, and I can manually change my energy really easily in meditation, so that is my dominant style. But I don't put so much pressure on myself to be consistent every day, because that takes the joy out of it. I like just organically feeling into what is it that feels good to me today, how can I embody this more, and making decisions moment by moment. I go really in-depth in this. For those of you who have signed up for the class already, it's in the modalities module where I talk all about that. I pretty much don't shy away from anything if I think it works, whether it be a ritual or mantras or meditation or tapping. I mean, whatever it is, whatever I'm in the mood for, I'll do. Just so long as it shifts my energy, that's fine with me. I'm not regimented or super rigid with what I do. I also find that with time and practice, what I've done is just every day getting into the energy of the thing that I want, even if I'm not doing anything, or if I'm not doing a specific practice per se, I'll try to just turn it on at all times. Turn on my receivers, turn on my energetic shift at all times. But it's hard to do that if you don't have the manual practices, if you don't have the regular day-to-day activities to shift. So I wouldn't necessarily say that's a place to start, but again, with practice, that's what you'll start doing just throughout your day. So then every single thing that I do becomes a manifestation practice, from the time I wake up in the morning and have coffee to the time I lay my head down at night. I've probably woven in a ton of different manifestation practices throughout the entire day that are just automatic, normal things that I do. It's just with a little added manifestation juju, if you will. For example, I know a lot of people, I can't remember where I saw this or who I saw it from first, but it was kind of like, oh, every time you pay for something, set the intention that you're going to get that back times 10. So every time you're paying, you're essentially doing a blessing. Like the exchange and transfer of money is what's blessing you with 10 times that amount coming into your bank account. Again, that's not my original one, but it's the idea of you can weave these things in at all times. So I just do it as often as I feel called to throughout the day. How do you feel what something you've never experienced really feels like? So the closest thing that you can do is like take a small instance, like money is a good example. So like, let's say you want X amount of dollars and it's way higher than you would normally set an intention for. Well, think about, how did it feel when you got a smaller version of that? How did it feel when you got an extra $100? Or how did it feel when you found a 20 on the ground? Or how did it feel when there was a smaller dose of it? And then conjuring the emotions up from that space. It can also be something where you just strictly imagine. Like, imagination is not bad. Do not demonize imagination. Do not demonize fantasy, right? You don't want it to get to the point where you're not living your life and not enjoying where you're at now. But again, imagination is the portal to intuition and manifestation, so don't knock it. Like, you can just maybe start with the visualization piece and see what that does for you. You know, visualization isn't bad. It's not going to put your manifestation at full power, just visualizing something, but practicing and just throwing stuff against the wall and see what sticks. And also keep in mind, you don't have to have already had the experience in order to know what it feels like, because you can break down any experience into smaller emotions. So if you're wanting a stable partnership, then part of that is going to feel validating. So validating is an emotion. There's stable is an emotion. That's a feeling that you can use. Being able to play and let loose and have fun. You know, what is that feeling? When have you experienced that previously? And even though you may not know what the experience of being in a healthy relationship or like a long-term relationship or whatever you're going for, you might not know what it feels like for sure, but you know what all of those smaller things feel like. So just break it down into smaller parts. Use your imagination. What would it feel like? Break that down, and then work with the emotions that you've identified. And that's how I would put it together. Can you end up manifesting something you don't want or realize it isn't right for you? Yes, and I recommend that everyone have this experience because it's important, because when you realize that you can manifest something that really isn't in alignment with you, or you end up changing your mind, you're going to stop putting so much pressure on the manifestations. You're going to stop putting so much pressure on the things that you have in the oven. And so, yes, but don't make that a bad thing, because it's just a part of the process. Like I said, this is a skill that you're building, and you're going to have to finesse it. You're going to have to fine tune it and figure out what bugs you need to work out. So it's okay if there are errors. It's okay if you change your mind. Don't make a big deal out of those things, because it doesn't mean you're bad at manifesting, or it doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you're trying and you're going to make some adjustments. And that's it. There's just adjustments to be made. And I would actually say that is a better skill to have, understanding how to make adjustments, so that you can apply it to all these different areas. And that's really what this is. And I don't think that many people talk about it that often. They just talk about, oh, manifestation is so easy. Oh, I just do this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, that's great. But in my experience, what I found is that there's a lot of troubleshooting. Like there just is. There's going to be things that you decide, you know what, I manifested this great thing, but I've also outgrown it, and it's time for me to step into the next stage of my life. Or, I had a really kick-ass living situation up in the San Francisco Bay Area. It was so affordable. It was blowing people's minds that I was even able to find my own place with my own parking space for $600 a month. That doesn't happen ever. And the fact that I was able to create that made it, of course, a little bit more challenging to let go of. But it's like I still manifested it, and I still ended up changing my mind and moving on to something better. And so it definitely is not something worth demonizing, because manifestation is a lifelong skill, not something that you just do once. Or at least I hope you don't. I hope it's something that you do all the time, not just once. Is it possible to manifest if you are not clear about what you want? Yes, and it's going to show up as something that reflects all of the things you're unclear about. Of course, not every time, but you might find that, for example, if you're really unclear about something and you find that making an appearance and it comes into your space, you might end up having the experience of, oh, that's not right. That's definitely not what I asked for, just because you're unclear. So sometimes you can just manifest things that give you clarity. Like I really think that's what dating is for a lot of people, is you manifest different people, you reflect, see what happens, make an evaluation, and then make an assessment. Is this something I want more of, less of? Is this quite right? Is this not enough? And it's about fine-tuning that and evaluating where you're at in the dating process, and then getting clearer and clearer over time. So the energy that you embody is going to be what manifests, whether you're conscious of it or not. So I want to be clear, it's not the thought. The thought in itself is not necessarily what causes the embodiment, because I can have dark thoughts, but it doesn't mean they're going to come to life. That's the good thing about thinking, is that it's shiftable and changeable, and you can adapt in the moment and you can adjust it in the moment. It's not something that's permanent, and it's not dense. So it's just about reminding yourself that the embodiment piece is really a collection of thoughts, words, and actions. The embodiment is who you are being, and that's going to be what manifests. Whether that's super clear or super unclear, that's the principle that you can work with. Can you manifest for the population as a whole, or does that require many people trying to manifest at once? Typically, collective stuff is adjustable through collective action, or collective thought, or collective prayer, which is why I do collective prayers each week. You can make an attempt to manifest for the population. But here's a couple different things that could end up happening if you're doing it solo. Is you might just find that more evidence of what you've been manifesting is coming into your line of sight, which may or may not be a true reflection of what's happening within the collective. So that's where it can get a little bit muddy, because you might be manifesting, but then you're seeing evidence that's only coming into your line of sight, not necessarily the collectives, not necessarily the population. So this is why when it comes to anything, no matter what you're doing, how we all contribute to the collective is by doing our own work and doing our best. So anything that you're worried about in the population, it's like, okay, well, what are you doing within your own life? How are you taking care of that yourself? Do you want to see more healing in the world? Okay, well, the world is made up of individuals. So in order to have a world that is healing, you have to do your work. Or if you want to see the world become healthier physically, okay, well, you are a part of that world. So how well are you taking care of yourself on a physical level? Or, I mean, with anything. You want to see less hate in the world? Okay, well, are you throwing hate at other people, judgments at other people? Are you energetically assaulting other people? You know, that's the type of stuff that you want to ask, because it's going to have a massive impact on the collective. And of course, there's groups and communities that can have an impact as well. But yes, it does have to be cohesive in order for a collective manifestation to work. How to feel positive enough to believe I can manifest a change. Again, I don't think that you need to feel positive first. Ironically enough, this is completely contradicting probably everyone else who teaches manifestation, and that's fine. But my point is, you don't have to ask for things to become 180. It doesn't have to be a 180 experience. It can just be a small incremental thing. And you don't have to have 100% of your belief behind life becoming amazing. It might take you a while to get to that space, but you can ask for something small, like just show me there's some good stuff on earth, or show me evidence that I am supported, or show me something that's going to lift my spirits today, or literally anything you can ask for. But the point in doing that is so you can take the pressure off of the belief and instead just come from curiosity. Let's see what comes up. I'm just playing with this whole God thing. I'm playing with this whole manifestation thing. Why don't we just get curious and start planting a couple little seeds? Like you don't have to do anything major. And I would encourage you to not look at it as I need to be ultra positive, ultra spiritual, ultra, believing in everything I'm manifesting. No. I actually think you can start much smaller than that. The only thing that's important, you don't have to have all of your belief behind it, but it's wise to be skeptical of the thoughts that you have when it comes to manifestation and the stories that you're telling yourself. Because the stories that you tell yourself are often going to paint a picture of what your lens is that you're seeing the world through. And if that dialogue within yourself starts to get dark and scary, then you're putting a shadow-colored lens on life. So instead of belief, focus on curiosity, focus on skepticism within your own thoughts, ask for little things, ask for a little evidence, and see what happens from there. It's simply about opening a door. That's all you need to focus on, is just show me where the door is, where good things can come through. And if you can just open it a crack and get the momentum moving, like maybe all of the dark thoughts that you're having, or maybe the way you're seeing the world and the story you're telling yourself, maybe it's wrong. And I would just lead with that for now and ask for small things and see what comes up. One thing I need to mention with that, though, is that if you're asking for good things and then all of a sudden you get a parking ticket, You can't spiral. Don't make the parking ticket mean something, right? And I'm using a parking ticket as like a human being daily life inconvenience that happens, like whatever that is. So in order for this to work, you have to scout and actively look for the thing that you've asked for. And if as soon as, the sky isn't blue, your world starts crashing down, that's a mindset issue. So just remember, if you are in that state, if you are asking for small things, you can't make mountains out of molehills with everything else. That's the one thing that I would recommend you avoid at all costs. Even if the feelings come up, it's like, okay, even if you had a parking ticket, there's still hours left in the day. There's still time. See what happens tomorrow. Sleep on it. It could shift in the morning. You want to give the universe the benefit of the doubt. Just at least give that much and see what happens. Asking, gratitude, and action are great tools, but what's a physical way to get into alignment? I would say the environmental stuff is going to be best. So either networking with the type of people that you want to be around or getting into the physical space that you want to be in. It's like if you're moving or planning on moving to a place, go sit in a coffee shop in that area. Go walk around that neighborhood. Or like Kim Kardashian did. She would put on her makeup and get her hair done and put on her snazziest clothes, all of the outfits that she would want to be seen in as if she's already a celebrity. All of those types of actions, even though they don't necessarily seem practical, the energetic impact is really massive. So that's more of the physical stuff that I would recommend, is putting yourself in the environment, putting yourself and taking the small actions that you would take as if you were creating a nest for that manifestation. That's what I would do. Oh, this is a good question. How to keep up with keeping your manifestation once you have it. I can manifest, but I fuck it up. Okay, so the next level to that would be, what would it feel like if you were able to hold that thing at all times? What would it feel like if you just already had that thing? What would it feel like if you were the type of person to keep that thing? Who is that person? So it's about the incremental shift from, okay, I have been able to manifest, but the keeping piece. So what does keeping it feel like? What does having it at all times feel like? Who is the person who has that thing at all times? That's the next question that you want to ask and the next feeling that you want to tap into. How to bring the subconscious to the conscious, to unblock, then manifest. If I'm being completely honest, and I know this is controversial, I think people are obsessed with blocks. Do you know what happens when you get obsessed with blocks and obsessed with issues and obsessed with all of the reasons why you can't do it and why there's so much in the way and there's so much junk in your unconscious mind that's just lodged in there and there's no way to get it out? That is called stalling out all of your manifestations and the fastest way to fail. So I actually recommend that you not even worry about it. Instead, focus on all of the affirmative actions, the actions that you can take, the things that you can do to adjust your energy in the present moment, and not worry about blocks. Because in reality, a lot of the time they don't matter. It's your energy is going to override any of the things that are in your unconscious mind. And if it is in the unconscious mind, maybe it'll manifest, and then you can ask for something that is a higher, better version of the thing that you desire. So you don't have to worry about it because the manifestation itself will tell you the unconscious or the subconscious belief. So I don't advise that you just focus on blocks. And I think that people actually run into issues when they obsess with blocks. That's been my experience. And so I would recommend that you pull your eyes away from the idea of blocks and just focus on doing things that get your energy in alignment with your desire. And also be careful, because if you are sitting and focusing on blocks so much, some people end up creating them where there are none. So you really do not underestimate the principle of where your attention goes, your energy flows. That is 100% applicable here. So if you are one of those people who is constantly fishing for blocks, then that is the block, is the fact that you're fishing so hard to find an issue that it's getting in the way of you just busting out your creative power. Is it always possible to recognize an upcoming manifestation? I'm not sure what you mean by upcoming. I'm not sure if this question is referring to, are there signs that a manifestation of yours is coming? In which case I would say no. I have not personally found that to be the case. But that's just me. And I'm referring more to big ones. So like big sums of money, big soulmate partnerships, big career moving moments. A lot of that stuff turns out to be a surprise that shows up completely unannounced. Other people could say different things, but that's been my experience personally, is usually it's just in the blink of an eye it appears. For me, that's how it's always been. But I'm also not sure if you mean, how are you able to recognize that it's your manifestation when it arrives? In which case, yeah, that should be pretty obvious. Like when your thing shows up, it's pretty much undeniable. Even if you have to make some tweaks after the fact, yes, you can generally tell immediately when it shows up. I want everything I've ever wanted right now. Okay, great. Then what would it feel like if you already had that thing or the things that you desire? What would that feeling be? And then shift out of I want it and shift into I am being in the energy of already having it. I would like to know how to manifest money and soulmates. How long is it expected to take? Well, it honestly depends. I do have a time formula, which is in the class, but it is really dependent on where your energy is going and whether or not that's in alignment with your masculine feminine balance and composition. It also depends on whether or not there are other factors or other experiences that you need to have first before you receive that thing. There's too many factors to say a specific time frame. So that's a terrible question. I'm just going to tell you right now from an energetic standpoint. I mean, you can ask me anything. I'm saying it's a terrible question. If you go into manifestation with impatience, it is going to become a distraction if you focus on it too much, right? So I'm impatient. I want things right now. I don't want to wait. But when I'm working on getting my energy there, it's the thing has already happened. So the time becomes irrelevant because I'm not operating in time or space. I'm getting my energy prepped now, and that's all I'm focusing on. So try not to go there with an expectation of, it needs to take X amount of time, because your experience with relationships and your experience with money are probably going to require different levels of work. And that's just been what I've seen with people. Some people get the hang of money really quickly. Some people get the hang of partnerships really quickly. Some people, people move at different paces. And it also depends on how far off the mark you are in terms of manifestation. So there's a lot of factors in there. So there is no clear timeline because everyone is in a different spot and everyone grows and gets the hang of it at a different pace. Okay, this question is basically about someone who teaches manifestation. I don't know who the person is. I've actually had to completely stop digesting pretty much any manifestation content from anyone else. I've been in total insulation mode, just doing my own thing as much as humanly possible. Of course, it's like I see little manifestation stuff on Instagram or whatever, but in terms of like really consuming someone else's material, I've taken a big step back from that just because it was muddying my style too much. And it was hard to get into my own groove and my own flow. So I don't actually know how that person is. I'm not going to say the name just in case she's awful. I don't want to like blast out somebody else because I can't really comment on safety practices. I can't comment on effectiveness. I can't comment on whether or not she's blowing smoke. I don't know. What is the fastest way to manifest money? Go into meditation, say, hey, God, this is the amount of money that I need. And then in the meditative state, ask, what do I do? This is where I want to go. What's my next step? What is the best way to assess what is blocking you and how to clear it? Again, don't focus on blocks at all, actually, which is obviously going to be controversial, but I really don't recommend focusing on blocks. Only energetic alignment. Like, just focus on that. You will see the blocks present themselves as you go, so you don't need to force anything with that, in my opinion. And then whenever that thing comes up, you can either ask for the next step in order to navigate it and move forward, or you can ask for something that's more specific in order to get around it. Is it better to be specific or keep it general? And it really depends. Like, there are some people that don't really know what they're manifesting, but they're really clear on how they want to feel. And so then I tell them, okay, manifest from a feeling space. Like, what is the feeling that you're manifesting? And then trust the opportunities and circumstances and situations that show up that feel good, that are like a full body yes once you get to that space. So you can do it either way. You can keep it really general. Like, I want to experience more joy. That's my intention. That's what I'm manifesting. More goodness, more yumminess, more joy, more reasons to celebrate, and setting your intention and vibration at joy. And then you can take that route, and everything that happens as a result is just gravy because you've already done the energetic work and gotten to the frequency of joy. Or you can be really specific with what you want, right? So more people are probably going to want specifics around partnership compared to money, for example. Money isn't going to be as nuanced as manifesting a person. So it all depends. Because there's so much stuff that you can manifest. It's like, I would really get specific if I wanted to manifest a particular car. I'm actually in the middle of doing that right now. Manifesting a particular vehicle, you should probably go test drive it, know what it smells like, know what it feels like, know what the experience is like, what does it look like, what is the experience of being inside the vehicle that you're planning on getting and manifesting. Do all of that so that you can access that again in terms of the feeling. You want to be able to access that feeling again. So it all depends on how specific of an experience it is that you're desiring to have. The more specific the experience, the more specific you need to be. If you're more relaxed about how it can show up in the 3D, you might be able to make it happen faster, but you just really need to get good at mastering that frequency, like with the joy example. If you get really, really, really good at tapping into joy all the time, then your environment is going to send you things that will perpetuate feelings of joy. So that's kind of how I would take it. But there's no reason why you have to either always do things that are super specific. You don't have to always do things that are super general. You can do a combination of both. It's totally up to you. Okay, last question. I constantly hear that in order to manifest, you need to let go, but how do you know when to stop manifesting? Okay, so the first part of this, in order to manifest, you have to let go. I don't really agree with that. You guys already know I don't believe in letting go. If I'm totally honest, I believe in transformation. I believe in neutrality. I believe in relaxation around something. And I think that's actually a better description, because when people hear let go, they think stop thinking about it, stop talking about it, stop concerning yourself with it. And this is a misconception. When it comes to manifestation, you do want to continue putting your energy behind it. But in terms of relaxing around how it comes about, relaxing around the timing, relaxing around receiving the thing, that's, I think, more of an accurate description of what people mean by letting go. It's not letting go and forget about it. That's not, you don't want to do that with a manifestation, because you do want the energy of the thing to be in your space. You want your frequency to line up with it, and that means that you do need to access it often. For some of you, that might be a few minutes each day. That might be a huge commitment for you, which is awesome. Just start where you're at. Or you might be super advanced and be able to spend 90 minutes in meditation, and dedicate your energy to it in that meditation. That's a lot of work, and it's well worth it, but it's one of those things that letting go is just such a poor descriptor for so much. And that's why I never use it. You're never going to hear me say let go. Never. It's never going to come out of my mouth, because it's not realistic for the majority of people. And so what I would say is set your intention, be clear about what you want, get your conviction behind it, and relax around receiving it. You don't need to, applying pressure and tension and anxiety, putting that behind your manifestation isn't going to work. It's not going to feel good when it gets to you. So instead, relax, breathe, and receive the manifestation. That's more in alignment with what people say letting go is about. The other thing that people could be meaning when they say that is essentially let go of thinking that you know better than God, pretty much. So there could be a lot of things in the process that you don't know about, and there could be a method to the madness that you're experiencing that you just don't realize. So in a manifestation practice, you want to make sure that you're not getting too up in arms about things, because there might be something better, there might be a purpose, there might be a reason. And the reason why I'm saying that is just so that people can relax around it. Again, that's what this all comes back to, is relaxing around it, not being so not gripping to it so tightly that it turns to dust. You don't want to do that. And remember, you're supported. That's the main thing. We can feel abandoned at times, but in the end, we are supported. For the second part of this question, how do you know when to stop manifesting? I mean, the only thing I can think of is, does the manifestation not interest you anymore? Are you just not into it? Did you change your mind? Did you just decide that you don't like the energy of that thing and you need to take a break from it? Or do you need to make some adjustments before you ask for it? I think those are all perfectly fine reasons to stop manifesting, but the idea that there's a time when it's just like, okay, I'm gonna throw in the towel, I would never recommend that to anybody, because I don't know if you've ever seen that graphic, but there's like two people digging tunnels, and there's this huge pile of treasure sitting in there, and there's one guy who's like, he's almost there, he's like a foot away, and he's like, no, I'm throwing in the towel, it's too hard, I can't do it. And then the other guy is like an inch away and is still working and still digging. And that's exactly how I feel about manifestation, is the people who keep going are going to receive the thing that they've set the intention for, that they've been working on, that they've been putting their energy behind. That's always going to pay off, even if the outcome looks a little bit different. But it really is a compound effect energetically. So stop manifesting. I mean, I can't imagine a world where I stop manifesting, because you should just keep doing it. I don't think you should give up unless there's a reason why you've changed your mind or you don't want that thing anymore. And while you might make some tweaks along the way, I don't think that the right answer is to like give up on the desire. It might just be that the desire evolves or your intention could change a little bit, but I don't think that throwing the desire away is the answer. If it's something that you're still going to have there and your heart is still going to be tugging at it and saying, hey, you need to do this thing, then giving up on the manifestation is a terrible idea, because you don't want to ignore the nudge of your heart. I don't ever think that's a good idea for me personally. You always have the option of giving up and throwing everything away that you've been working on, or you have the option to see it through. Ultimately, that decision is up to you 100%. But really keep regret in mind. Are you going to regret not continuing to try for it or manifest it or watch it grow and develop? And I think that if it's something that is just not going to leave you alone, you should not stop manifesting it. Because imagine if you gave up, if you just were like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then your heart never stopped bugging you, and you ended up having to go back and start all over again, the manifestation process, because your heart kept bugging you again and saying you need to do this thing. So it's like, just persevere through it and see what happens, because I don't think your desires go away easily unless they were never in alignment with you in the first place. Now, the only thing that I will say is that there are certain things and certain outcomes that I think you should trust in. So, for example, let's say you applied to Penn State and Harvard for college, and you really want Harvard, but you get accepted to Penn State and rejected by Harvard. Things like that, or like not getting a job, but getting a yes for another company. Certain things like that I do think is more of God having your back, because you never know what opportunities, what connections, what friendships, what relationships are behind that door that's opening for you. So there are some things that I think are worth being flexible around, and other things that I think you should stick it out. So it's really a case by case basis, but I just wanted to throw that in there for those of you, like if you're trying to get this thing and that door stays shut but another one opens at the same time, that could also be helping you. That could be divine support that you just don't realize. Or you could be protected and you just don't realize it. So if you're dealing with one of those situations, then my answer for everything is meditate on it, whatever your meditation is, but that is going to be where you can get the clarity. So, all right, an hour and 20 minutes later, I think we should wrap this baby up. I hope you have enjoyed this podcast episode. I hope it's been helpful. And don't forget that it's already yours. The manifestation class is now open, and so you are welcome to join, and you know that I am going to make it as applicable to everyone as humanly possible, and I promise to not put you in a box, but instead help you understand how to troubleshoot your own manifestations, how to find your divine manifestation style, find your masculine, feminine, energetic composition for manifestation, And it's very, very, very custom. So if you are interested in that, go take a look. The first module is free, and I am sending you so much love, so much abundance, full agreement for the highest good for everyone who's listening right now, and for all of your wildest dreams to come true. And I will talk to you all next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.